All right. So good evening, everyone. My name is Sarita Smith. I am the Executive Director of Student Assignments. For those of you that I see on Wednesday nights, welcome back to AIC. This is our second meeting of the whole that we have had this year. We'll have some more next year, but it is super, super exciting to see everybody in the same room. And thank you for all of your work and all of the reading of data and all of the nights that you guys have already committed to this project. Please give yourselves a hand because that is a lot of work. So a little bit of housekeeping. When you came in, to your left, there were bathrooms. So if you need to go to the bathroom, obviously feel free to excuse yourself and head on down there. There are snacks and refreshments in the back for you. Since we got to dig in a little bit tonight, so we wanted to give you a little bit of nutrients. A little quick update on our student assignment survey. And I said this separately in a few of our meetings. We have decided to reopen it to try to catch some of the groups of demographics that we didn't catch the first round. So Kayla and I, Dr. Covington and I have been going to certain demographic areas and certain schools to try to get more information for us to use for our decision-making process. You guys have worksheets on your table. Please hear me because we're not printing these again. There's a lot of paper, and so please keep your worksheets if you are the paper person, because we're going to use these through May. So keep your worksheets with you. They are also electronic. You know I like computers, so make sure you keep it, but it's also in your Google Drive. But we're not printing these again, so you won't see no paper after tonight for the rest of those meetings, okay? So make sure you keep those. I want to let you guys know that Dr. Covington, wave your hand in the back. My number 2 back there, Dr. Covington, the Director of Student Assignment, and I have been visiting every school that is over capacity and under capacity. That is, we are at number 75, every school. So when we come back in the fall and we really start talking about generating some ideas about buildings, boundaries, and programs, we're not going to be just throwing stuff at the wall. We go and talk to them and ask them about buildings, boundaries, and programs. So you guys have some, at the grassroots level, what our principals and our administrators are doing in those schools and what their ideas are around those, okay? So we're going to keep going, but we definitely wanted to hit the over and under schools. We have some board members in the house tonight. So if you guys want to just stand up, give a hello. Start over here.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. I'm Mrs. Deirdre P. Pierce, and I have the honor of serving as our board chair. And I'm excited to be among a lot of wonderful people, and I'm thankful to be here with you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Awad Iyasu, and I am the new board member for District 7, and such a pleasure to be among you today. I've been watching a lot of the videos that you guys you've had in the past, and I've learned a lot already from what you guys are trying to do, and I want to say thank you so much for all the help and the contribution that you're doing to the district. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dijon DaCosta, and I serve as the immediate past chair of the DeKalb County Board of Education. And I'm just excited to be here amongst you all. You know, I am a parent of this district as well, of 3 scholars. So I had to think about it for a little bit, but it's a pleasure.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tiffany Hogan, and I am representing District 5, and I'm thankful to be here with you this evening, and I'm looking forward to listening in on some of the great work that you're doing.
Hi, my name is Andrew Ziffer. I'm the rep for District 1. If you're from Dunwoody, Chamblee, or Brookhaven, Dorville, that would be me. So before you leave tonight, try to say hello.
Good evening, and I am Whitney McGinnis. I am the school board rep for District 2, and just want to echo everyone else's thanks. Y'all have been doing some hard work, digging deep into our district data. I know it's not necessarily fun or easy, but we very sincerely appreciate your contribution.
Hi, I'm Allison Gevirtz. I'm the vice chair of the board, and it makes me very, very happy to see you all here. This is really groundbreaking work. We've never, at least in the last 20 years, done a re-envisioning of the district like what you all are doing. And you know this, your recommendations are coming to us. So thank you extra, because you're taking all of this off of our plates and you're taking it for us. So thank you so much for your work.
Did I get everyone? Oh yeah, Dr. Horton. No, joking. He's got a little special message for you guys. He's coming up next. But Dr. Horton is here. All right, so we're gonna move to the next one. So our agenda, you guys are very accustomed to this. I'm not gonna go over it. You can read. Wonderful. We're gonna go through a lot of information tonight. We'll talk a little bit about our little quarterly overview, because we've been together since September at this point. So we know each other a little bit well. So we just wanna take some time to backtrack a little bit about what we've done so far. There's a bunch of division leaders here. If you're from a division, just wave your hand around. Around the perimeter are division leaders for you guys to go and dig a little deeper into that data in. These division leaders also helped us answer all of your questions that you had, and we put them in a nice PDF and put them in your Google Drive. So all the questions we've been collecting from those data worksheets have been answered, and they're in your Google Drive, so make sure you check those out. But they're here tonight, so you can do a little bit of a round robin with our division leaders and just get any other burning questions answered, so we can take this information and start moving forward with developing guiding principles. Speaking of guiding principles, we will also be practicing how to create a guiding principle tonight, because the next 3 months, we're gonna be developing them about buildings, boundaries, and programs. That is March, April, May, okay? So tonight we'll practice a little bit with something a little light, cell phones in schools, maybe a little light. And then we will start diving into that work the next 3 months. And per usual, you'll do your exit ticket and make sure all of your information is somewhere in your Google Drive, yes? All right. And a message from Dr. Horton.
Good evening, good evening. Let's give Ms. Smith, Dr. Covington, that entire team, let's give them a hand. And let's give yourselves a hand, because that commitment that you have made, I promise you all, is gonna make a difference. As we reimagine DeKalb County schools, we're not just talking about building schools. We're not talking about just changing boundaries or just changing educational programs. We're talking about it all. DeKalb County schools, and it's no longer 18 months, as you all know. You've been doing it for about 5 or 6. We're about 12 months away, close to being able to make some recommendations. Who's excited? Who's excited about all your information being on the website so people can call you when they don't like your recommendation? Oh, okay, all right. No, I wanted to say, have you all, some of you have heard this story. So the Damon West story. There's something brewing in DeKalb County schools. There's something brewing. And I'm gonna tell you this story. I'm gonna try, I don't know why Sarita tried to give me 5 minutes. She gotta know better. But I will be respectful of the work. But I think it's important that we talk about this. Damon West is a gentleman who used to be he was a big time, he's a white young man, used to be a big time quarterback in North Texas. And he grew up in a really pretty wealthy community in Texas, played college football, did really well, played on some of the largest stages, ESPN, and grew up in a two-parent home. But again, I'm gonna say this again, something's brewing, right, in this room. And so Damon West, he ended up tearing his knee his junior year after having a great sophomore season, tearing his knee, and he ended up not being able to finish football, right? But his story didn't end there. He ended up going on, graduating, and being able to go to work at a firm, a financial firm that was connected to Wall Street in Texas, making some really good money. But one day, this job gets its numbers as fast as fury, and so he was sitting at his desk, and his colleague next to him, he said, "Hey, he said, how do you keep up with the pace? This is a lot." And so the guy said to him, he said, "Hey, come downstairs with me in the parking lot on our lunch break. I'm gonna show you something." This is a true story, by the way, guys. So he goes downstairs into the parking lot, and next thing you know, this guy sits in the car and he takes a hit of meth. Drugs. And first, Damon was like, what? What's going, like, I'm not doing that. He said, this is how I keep my energy. Look at my numbers, the kind of money I'm making. So he takes a hit. Fast forward 6 weeks later, he's a full-blown drug addict. He's terminated from his job. He's in Dallas, Texas, at the time doing all of this work, all of this, and he's sitting on his couch in what we call, in some of our communities, a trap house. He's sitting on the couch, and he's taking a hit, taking some dope, and he says to the guy next to him, he's like, man, I feel like they're catching on to us. Because what I didn't tell you is that during that time, down that line, he and his other drug partners started to form what they terrorized the Dallas rich communities. They were going in, breaking in their homes, stealing, and the police couldn't catch them because they didn't look like the typical burglars, robbers, and so they were doing it, and they were getting close to him because one of his really close friends had got caught, and he was sitting on that couch taking the drugs, and next thing you know, one of those smoke things bust through the window. They bust in, they got a gun to his head. He's down on the floor. He said, "Don't move an inch." They caught up with him. He goes to jail. He's in jail. His mom and dad, they have to come and visit him and talk to him, and they're hurt because they pour so much into we raise our kids, you pour everything you can into them. And he hadn't been around in a while because he was on drugs, was not coming home, was not communicating. And they tell him, they say, look, you're going to court. He goes to court, and typically a case like this takes probably 6 to 8 months to actually get a verdict. They turned it around in like 6 weeks. That's how quick it was. And they gave the man 75 years for leading this big burglary ring in Dallas, Texas. They got him. And before they went to assign him to his prison, they let his parents come talk to him in a little back room. And his mom said, look, I'm gonna tell you this. We didn't raise you this way. We raised you with a different set of values. Think about your values and how you're raised and why you're sitting in this space. And she said, we're not going to call you during this time, but you're gonna have to pay for what you've done to this community. And when you get out, you're not gonna go in there. Before you get out, you're not gonna join a gang. You're not gonna get any tattoos. You're gonna be just the way we raised you. And he was crying. His dad was so hurt, who was a big time sports writer in Dallas, couldn't say a word because he was crying. Didn't talk to him. So his parents leave. They came out, gave him the 75 years. And then the transition period, he's now freaking out because he's been sober for a while now. He's freaking out. He's all scared. And he meets this one guy named Muhammad. And he says to Muhammad, he said, hey, man, like, how am I going to survive in here? People have been telling me I got to join gangs. I'm going to have to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to be fighting. He said, I don't know what to do. Like, how do I survive? Muhammad was a frequent flyer in the prison system. And he said, you know what? I'm going to tell you this. I may be in and out of jail consistently, but I got a theory and a process I want to share with you. He said, I want you to think about this. If you try to join the white gangs, then the other races are going to jump on you. You're going to be in the fight all the time, right? If you join a different organization, you're going to always be affiliated. And it's going to be a time when you're by yourself, and they're going to get you. You're going to be connected, and you're going to be in some trouble. And he said that the two things about prison that you want to stay away from, he said, it can harden you, and if it hardens you, you'll never get out of the cycle. Think about the cycle that we've been delivering here in DeKalb County schools. It's a cycle of how we've been doing school, boundaries, facilities. It's a cycle. But then he says, if you go soft, you won't survive. You got to find a balance. But I'm going to give you an example, a real life of how you got to think and operate. And he says to Damon, he says, look, I'm going to talk about three things. What if I put a pot of hot boiling water on the stove? What happens if I put a carrot in that boiling water? What happens to it? So does the carrot change the environment, or it changes the carrot? It changed the carrot. He said, you can't be a carrot. He said, well, what about a boil? What about an egg? When you put it in an environment in hot boiling water, what happens? It gets hard. But he said the secret to this is what happens when you put a coffee bean inside of that environment. Does the bean change or does the environment change? The environment changes. He said, you're going to have to be a coffee bean. So Damon is like, what? Coffee bean? He said, I want you to hear me out. You're going to have to go into this prison, into this space. As you all sit in this space, you have a responsibility. You're going to have to change the culture of that prison. Sounds impossible, right? And he said, this is how you're going to do it. You're not going to get affiliated with the gangs. You're going to have to smile. And sometimes you have to defend yourself and be right and in this case, get closer to your being. Damon West says, he said, you're going to have to smile a lot. This is what the guy said. And so imagine this, right? If I walk up to you right now and I just smile, you just smile. So he said, walk around smiling. That's important. It's contagious. It connects. Be a resource for the people in the room. So Damon West goes into prison, joins a ministry, and before you know it, 3 years later, he has the opportunity to come out because he has had such a great impact on that prison. A lot of young men who had converted over to their religion, there were less fights, and they all gave Damon West credit because he served as a coffee bean. He didn't let it take him. And when he got out, they let him out early from 75 years. You can Google it, true story, you'll Google it. He went to start doing public speaking. And some of our top football programs in the country started bringing him in. He was at an event working back in the media, and he saw Sweeney. Is it Sweeney? From Clemson? Double Sweeney. So at first he tries to talk to him, and Double blows him off. Blows him off. So he follows Sweeney to the bathroom. Sweeney comes out. He pauses him, and he says, let me tell you something really quick. I got a message for your players. Because Clemson at the time was not winning like it had won for a few years. He told him a coffee bean story. And so then Sweeney called Alabama. And next thing you know, Damon West, you can look him up. He's doing books with Maxwell. Is it Glenn Maxwell? About the coffee bean. And I say that, I think it's important. I wanted to tell you that story tonight because you are being the coffee bean. There's going to be a lot of challenges as you do this work and you make these recommendations. You got to be able to stand on the core values that you are establishing here and doing what's right for our kids. So I say this tonight, I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for your commitment to this. This is a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of brain power, but I want to thank you all for being the coffee bean for our student assignment plan and helping us to reimagine DeKalb County School District. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna just refer to you guys as coffee beans from now on. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time here with the norms, but tonight is about collective impact, right? There's a lot of us in this room, and I'm gonna have Kayla start shifting some of them in the back because I want our tables generative and full, so find a team that represents you, and we're gonna move up so we have enough people at our tables to get through this work tonight. Pause here just a little bit on purpose and non-purpose. As we start moving about the room, there's a lot that you can ask our division leaders. Please keep it to the purpose of SAP. So if it's about your child, that's not tonight. You can happily get their information and email them separately. But tonight I want you to focus on the questions that we have been asking, some of those challenges that we have been lifting, and keep it around our work tonight. So the vision and our outcome of this session is really to share some information with you all, to really become familiar with some of those commonly asked questions that we shared, that you all shared, that we have given responses to, and then to really understand what a guiding principle is, because that guiding principle is going to be our roadmap to how we create recommendations, okay? All right, so I'm gonna skip this part because of time, but we have a lot of information on our website. I'm glad some of our board members have been on there. Every single meeting is recorded, which is why you guys have to hold the cute little mic when you speak and give your end of the meeting feedback. But we have a lot of our information on there. Anytime you guys ask for something, and it is something we can find, I put it on there under our resource page. So please become familiar with that. And as people are asking you guys questions, if you don't know, point them to the website. There is also a contact us information on there that goes directly to me and Kayla. So make sure as people are asking questions, because there's already a lot of talk about everything's happening next year. Incorrect, right? So make sure you point them to us and guide them to our website. All right, our overview. So in September, we had a first meeting in this space, right? Full circle back here. And we talked a little bit about the vision of SAP and the process, gaining some foundational information, some of which got pushed back on that we then talked a little bit about and corrected in those first meetings. In October, we really came together to learn a lot about our buildings, the physical structures of our buildings, and understanding that the way that we're going to work with buildings is what we use them for. So not necessarily how to fix all the brick and mortar in the building, because that's not us. There's a department for that. But what do we use buildings for in DeKalb? And then in November, we started learning about programs, and that's when the SAP survey kicked off. December's, we continued programs. We started looking at, Dr. Horton put out a quarterly update, which we are going to shift a little bit to every month update, so we can keep our board members and community up to date on what we're doing. And then in January, we did a lot about our boundaries. So we took that first quarter to just learn and challenge data, right? The second half is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. You guys had a lot of commonly asked questions. Kayla, where's Kayla? Say hey, Kayla. She's wonderful. She helps organize all of our things, all of your email communication, reminders, all that comes from Kayla. So she was able to get all of our divisions to answer those questions for you all. They, again, are in your Google Drive. So I want you to take some time, especially if someone at your table has a device, to look through some of that information. But your worksheet for this next session for our division roundtables has some space at the top. So if there is something about, again, buildings, boundaries, and programs that you don't believe was answered adequately, or that you just want a little more information on, that's what the division people are here for. So how this is going to work, you get 3 rounds of 15 minutes. So I suggest you make sure you're in table groups so you can divide and conquer, so everybody can get to all the things. 3 rounds of 15 minutes. When you hear the alarm go off, that means it's time to rotate. So the divisions have their signs in front of them. And yes, love. You're gonna look first, yep. And then I'm gonna send you off. So make sure if you do not have someone at your table that has a device, find somebody at least in your team or your cluster that has that device, so we can look at the answers and then maybe think of some questions that maybe are coming up with you, and then we're going to start our table roundup. So find someone at your teams that has a device so you can look at those questions. Happy birthday. Oh, I thought someone said happy birthday. Just kidding. It is my birthday. Oh, happy birthday. All right, we're going to give you guys about 10 or so minutes here, and then we're going to start moving. All right, so we are ready to start moving around the room. So divide and conquer as you guys are looking at those answers. Send some representatives to our division leaders and get some clarity. All right, coffee beans. I only see like 2 people at tables. But I feel like all right, people, we got about 3 more minutes. If you have not switched yet, go on and switch. If you haven't visited your last table, please do so because we're going to wrap up this section. Please visit your last tables. We're going to wrap up this section. All right, 3 more minutes and we are closing this out. All right, coffee beans. Let's make our way back to our seats. Only calling y'all coffee beans. Only coffee beans from now on. You've been given the title. Let's make our way back to our seats so we can go to the next section of our evening. I thought you were talking to me. It is time. Let's make our way back to our seats. So if I know some of you very well, I know that this section probably created more questions. See how well I know you. So please, please, please make sure that that gets in your Google Drive on the top of that document. If it created some more questions for you, we will continue to work with our division leaders to get those answers. So please make sure that that gets in your Google Drives. All right, we're going to move on to our next session. So we will obviously be coming back to these questions. We will be answering more of your questions, especially if you put them in there like I know some of you have. And we will continue to use this to kind of generate our conversation as we move towards building a recommendation. So in order to build a recommendation, we kind of have to have a pathway on how to get there. And that's what guiding principles will become. So the guiding principles that we're going to build over the next 3 months will become our pathway on developing our recommendations, okay? So something I did share with a few of the tables is all of this work you guys are doing, and the reason me and Kayla drill you guys into putting things in your Google Drive and in those worksheets is because we're gonna take all of that information and start developing stuff for you guys to look at over the summer. So in the summer, I'll be probably picking on a few of you guys to be a part of our SAP Summer Institute. And it will be with some of these people in this room or people from their team to start thinking through some of those options that your team has been nulling over these last 4 or 5 months. And so we'll be doing some of the work behind the scenes and looking at all of your documentation, all of your like aha moments that you've been putting in there and say, oh, you know, Central Team too really believes X, Y, and Z. Here's an option for them to look at. So that's what's going to be happening behind the scenes over the summer. So please, please, please document, document, document. If you know nothing else about me, we're gonna look at some documentation and we're gonna write some things down and we're gonna look at some data, okay? So in order to develop a guiding principle, there's a lot of things that we can look at. I'm gonna shout out Mr. Hofstetter on this one, who was like, hey, what kind of guiding principles are you guys using? You're right, we're gonna build it. Thank you so much. So this is really his fault that we're doing this. So we can look at a bunch of things when we're talking about how to develop guiding principles. Historical context, we can look at what's important, who's impacted, who loses, who gains. Our miracles framework from Dr. Horton, which is in your packet. Our vision and mission, and a bunch of different data points. But when we're really doing this, I really want you guys to think through, first you just gotta put ideas down. Just put the ideas on the paper. So there's a bunch of paper around the room. There's markers on your table. We're gonna be moving a little bit. But just put the ideas on paper. What has been happening about buildings in DeKalb historically? Who's impacted? What does it look like to have 3 stadiums in the central part of the district and not too many in the south and north? What is all that stuff, right? You're gonna put all that on paper. Just put your ideas on the paper, and then you're gonna rank them. How is this important for the user? Like, which one of these is the most important factor for our users? And then in order to develop those things that you end up ranking that kind of surface at the top, you're gonna use what I'm calling the 3 A's. Whatever it is needs to be action-oriented, it needs to align with a value, and it has to be adaptable. So when we go back into our smaller committees and we create guiding principles, I'm gonna ask you to point out the 3 A's for me. How is it action-oriented, aligns with our values, so that's gonna be your SAP vision, right? And it's adaptable. We cannot have a path if it only goes straight. We might need to turn. I mean, I drive in Georgia. Y'all have lots of expressways. There's a lot of expressways here. So we gotta have some different routes to get to the destination, right? And when we think about those guiding principles, we need some flexibility in that. It can't be so tight that there's only one outcome, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. I will stress, probably from here on out, SAP is about the what, not the how. What we should do, not necessarily how we should do it. The people in this room are here because they are well educated and versed in their areas. They are the how it gets done, right? We're gonna give recommendations on the what, all right? So we're gonna practice, and we're going to practice using something that DeKalb has already implemented, which is the disconnect to reconnect process. I don't think it's a policy, process. Initiative, let's call it that, which is no cell phones in the classroom so our students can reconnect in education and learning, right? We're gonna use that initiative to practice how to make a guiding principle. I'm gonna come around to your tables because y'all gonna need a little help walking through this. You know I like my little projects. So this is in your worksheet or in your Google Drive. It gives you an example. So again, you're gonna first think, you're gonna give me 2 other guiding principles. We gave you one, because you know some of us like to learn from examples. So in your worksheets, not your slide decks, in your worksheets, there is an example already for disconnect to reconnect, and it shows you a guiding principle. It shows you a vision that it's connected to, and then it shows you, whoa. One more back for me. So the one thing you're not going to do is do the SAP vision, because that's not necessarily connected to this work. You're gonna develop a guiding principle. You're gonna tell me, what is this addressing? What is the user? Who is it impacting? And then you're going to tell me what miracles or consideration that this is connected to. Because when we go into our stuff, when you guys come up with a guiding principle, I need you to tell me who it's impacting. I need you to tell me how it connects to our SAP vision, and what miracles priority it connects to. So think of your miracles as Dr. Horton's process of getting us to a vision, right? That's our vision and how we're, our strategies. So it has to connect to both SAP and that strategy when we go into our work. Tonight though, you're just gonna give me 1 or 2 more examples based on disconnect to reconnect. Any more, you guys need, I'm gonna come around. All right, get to work. So in your worksheets, your example, you got a good example and a bad example. That is just to give you some structure around something. One of those is action-oriented, aligned, and adaptable. One is not. That guiding principle that we created for you is very specific to teachers. There are two other groups of people that cell phone usage impact, administrators and students. Try to create one that impacts administrators and students. Yep? All right. It looks like you guys are good at practicing. I think I visited every table except one. Are we clear on practicing? You guys good? All right, let's do maybe 5 more minutes and we're going to move on. All right. Per usual, phenomenal conversation and great questions. For the most part, I think we got to the point where we understand how to develop a guiding principle. I told a few different tables, like making the connection here. We're going to use a similar process for buildings, boundaries, programs. Those will be 3 separate meetings. Most of the meeting will be about looking at the information that we have, any new data that I can give you guys, and starting to develop those guiding principles. I also need us to be comfortable with unanswered questions, because there will be some. And if some of our guiding principles has to be around getting some more answers, that's okay too, right? So we are not going to get all the answers in the world that we probably want, but we still are going to have to move the work ahead. I'm going to ask some brave soul to read this for me because we only have 2 more slides and we're out of here. Who would like to read my very inspirational quote that I believe I stole from Dr. Covington's church?
To reimagine means to rethink or revise something in a new and creative way, often breaking away from traditional perspectives, assumptions, or limitations. It involves seeing possibilities that were previously overlooked and approaching an idea, concept, or situation with a fresh mindset.
Thank you. You'll probably see this one a lot because, again, I went to a church and it was on there, and I was like, someone's trying to speak to me about reimagining. And I think as Dr. Horton keeps kind of pounding in us, like, we could be as creative as possible with this, which is really, really exciting. And also know that as we start developing guiding principles and some of these recommendations start emerging, we are not going to go to the board with a single recommendation. That is impossible, first of all, because there is a lot of ways, different ways to look at this. We'll be going to them with a few recommendations. We may get some feedback, come back together, and then narrow those down, okay? So we're not just giving them one thing to look at from everybody, because there's a few different ways of us looking at this work, and even within our own committees, right? Like we're kind of battling with some ideas around this work. So just know that, it's coming. And we are in this very wonderful space where we can connect with a fresh mindset and think about some new concepts and ideas. So what's next? So begin thinking again about these guiding principles for our focus areas. Start looking back at your worksheets. Start highlighting or bolding some of those good things that you guys have been talking about, especially when you guys share out. There has been some amazing share outs that we have just that has floored me, honestly. So start thinking about those and how we develop some guiding principles around that work. I'm putting as much data sets in there as possible. I'm trying to wrap up that survey so we can get you that information from our parents and our families, which will really be helpful with us as we start moving into those summer months and thinking through that as well. And that's all we're doing in March. We're only going to be looking at guiding principles for buildings. And I will be prepping you guys with a big question because, again, we're not technically talking about how to fix buildings necessarily, not us, but what do we use buildings for? Again, the what, not the how, okay? So per usual, last thing, exit ticket. I really, really appreciate your time tonight. You guys are amazing. And we read these and respond, so please fill that out, and we will see you in March. And please leave your name tent on the table, per Kayla.